You're listening to Podcast PXN, PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo. Let's do this. What's up, guys? Welcome to Podcast PXN episode 29. I am one of your hosts, Daniel Prindle, aka Dan is DTM on Twitter, and I am joined by the pride of PlayStation, Sean Babiak. Sean, we have two consoles, both spec'd out. Are you excited?
No.
All right, well,
because
way to kill it.
What do they not show me? What do I care about?
The games, yes, we know.
Yeah, that's why because I know nothing about these specs.
That's true.
I just need to know, what am I gonna play? Am I gonna be excited for whatever this? What is it? Greedfall? Not Greedfall.
Godfall. Yeah.
Which I don't think I am.
Randy Pitchford.
Yeah, I'm at this point. Even though I don't have any interest in playing Halo Infinite, I'm more interested in that than I am Godfall.
Let's just put this at the top of the show. Go fuck yourself, Randy Pitchford.
Kill button.
Thank you to everyone watching live and participating in the chat. Just as a reminder, we are live each and every week on YouTube. Just search Podcast PXN and you will find us on there. We have another great show this week, including our topic of the show. We're going to talk about all the things confirmed for next generation consoles.
PlayStation finally decided to talk?
Yeah, exactly. They came out of the shadows.
Yeah, they finally decided, hey, maybe we should say something now.
But first, the show always starts with the PXN news of the week, so let's go ahead and jump right in. The first item on the PXN news of the week, Dreams did not make the top 20 best-selling games of February. This is just a shocker. We're both shocked by this news. And if you've listened to the podcast, you'll know that I'm lying.
I'm more shocked that the reviews were very glowing for it. And the commercial sales, obviously, we knew that was going to happen. Mm-hmm. I mean, it does suck for Media Molecule because I still think this is kind of a make-or-break game for them. I don't know what this looks like future because, yes, you need to... I mean, there's 100+ million PS4s out there, but you didn't make the top 20.
Yep.
That's not really good.
Not good at all.
And I get it. This might have a long tail because of the creative nature of it. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I don't know. This was before all the panic in the world happened.
Yeah.
So I don't understand, why the messaging was always done this way. And I think that was yours and I kind of takeaway leading up to Dreams is this messaging of what are you and why are you here?
Yeah, and we never had a problem with the technology. The technology looks super cool and it's super awesome technology, but the problem is getting people to play it and buy it. And this game is really, I think, going to come into a very similar problem that Project Spark ran into on Xbox back in 2014. That game was announced and released, and it had really cool tools and tech around it. Like, you built your own games. It was super cool. But the problem is nobody played it.
No.
That's the same problem here. You have to be able to sustain a game through content, and at the end of the day, it's not necessarily a game per se, it's more like technology.
And there's only two great creative projects that I can think of that have found success. Obviously is the King Minecraft. Mm-hmm. I mean, that has no story whatsoever. All it is create. I think what really helped that is the oncoming of streaming, and then players just interacting with each other that way. But I say the other one is actually Mario Maker.
Yep.
Because I've never seen any statistics for this, but this is just how I feel. I feel like it is probably 70% people that want to play, 30% that want to create.
Yeah.
I have never created a level for myself. I've unlocked stuff to create. I've never created one. I've only played levels, and that's how I like to enjoy that game. I know it's not a game, that you've purchased, but when you've played it, because I believe you have played it, right?
Yep.
That's what you're doing, though. You're just playing what's been created because you're like, oh, man, this is going to be challenging or this is going to be fun.
Yeah.
I don't find the creation itself to be fun. I like to play what others create. I'm not an artist. I know I'm not.
And they curate that content so you get the best stuff at the top.
Well, Mario Maker not so much. Well, the first one was awful because all it was Rube Goldberg machines. But this one's a little better. There's still a decent amount of issues when it comes to curation.
Gotcha. So, Dreams, hopefully it has a longer tail than this.
I will say this, and we'll get to it a little later on. Yeah. But as far as their follow-up for PS4 exclusive, I am very much enjoying Neo 2.
Yeah.
So keep on them for that.
Yeah, for sure.
But you should have got Ori.
Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Moving on, there's a rumor that Sony, and this is a huge story, Sony is planning on acquiring Metal Gear, Silent Hill, and Castlevania IPs from Konami. This was a huge one that I was sitting there thinking, like, all right, this doesn't make sense. Like, there was a bunch of rumors about Kojima making a new Silent Hill game, and I was like, this doesn't make sense because Kojima left Konami because he didn't like Konami's bosses anymore. He was fed up with the bullcrap, and it was a toxic ending to that relationship.
And they've been reported at very poor working conditions for years.
Absolutely. And it didn't make sense to me. That rumor didn't make sense. I said, unless Sony or someone like that was buying the IPs. So this, in my opinion, this story makes perfect sense if this is real, because it really puts 3 strong IPs in Sony's wheelhouse, so to speak. And it also gives them the ability to license these out to developers that don't necessarily own these IPs, like Kojima Productions, which is its own entity right now.
But we pretty much all consider it a PlayStation
right now,
studio.
Yes.
Yeah, at this point in time.
Yes. And even if they do something like different with Castlevania or Silent Hill as well, but the rumor is that Kojima would be overseeing everything Metal Gear and Silent Hill if Sony does indeed purchase that, which again makes me think if that's
license out Castlevania to Moon Studio.
Yeah, there you go.
God.
But that makes me think: is Sony just going to acquire Kojima, or are they just going to continue working with them as a second-party studio, essentially?
I think you're traveling down the right path.
Yeah.
I think it's always been towards a trajectory of Kojima working with Sony exclusively, not just because of the deal that they have in place, and I think it's a 10-year exclusivity deal, but Sony's always treated Kojima the way that he has wanted to be treated by his own company. They have always given him so much press. They want to show him off to the world. They obviously love this partnership so much that Death Stranding had 19 million trailers at their conferences before it was finally released, and still we didn't know what it was.
True.
So I think that they're going to handle this greatly when it comes to Kojima. The one thing I will say is I agree with all 3 of these purchases, mostly because Konami's just sitting on them, using them for pachinko machines. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I know they're considered a video game company. They're one of the video game companies I grew up with so many Konami titles, but they make hand over fist for these gambling machines. Maybe not right now since everything's shut down.
Yeah, true.
But they make so much money off of those things that they don't really care about video games. I mean, look how bad Metal Gear Survive was.
Yeah.
And I did demo that just to try, and I was like, oh my god, I can't do this.
I didn't even do that.
But I hesitate. I want him to actually be done with Metal Gear. I would love for him to finally get to do this Silent Hill project. Got teased with PT.
True.
I don't necessarily think it has to be Norman Reedus again, because he, as has been shown, he's not the greatest video game actor.
Well, that was the other thing that was rumored as well, that Norman Reedus was in talks with Kojima Productions on another game to work with them on, so maybe that's Silent Hill's returning, but...
It's possible. Maybe he'll get to actually see the deal, and then maybe, or what he was working on with Guillermo del Toro as well with that stuff. The one thing I will say is do not give him Castlevania. I know I joke about Moon Studio, but I really think that's a perfect developer. I mean, I am kind of in love with them right now because I actually am playing Neo 2 and I really want to go back to Ori. But you also have to think about Yacht Club Games, who made a perfect Metroid Castlevania in a sense. I'm trying to remember the Hollow Knight developers offhand, but they would obviously be a perfect...
Yacht Club?
No, it's not Yacht Club. Team Cherry, that's who it is.
Oh, Shovel Knight is like
yeah. But just developers like that have perfected this Metroidvania thing.
Yeah.
And I think there was so much crap given to, especially the last Castlevania, Lords of Shadow 2, which, if I remember right, that was a free Xbox game this month for Games with Gold.
It might have been. I
think the second one is Games with Gold this month. Mm-hmm. But I actually didn't hate them. I thought the second one was the weakest one of them.
Yeah. But
fans don't want 3D Castlevania. Okay, cool. Well, those 3 developers I just mentioned are perfect
2D.
with 2D. Even though Ori kind of floats with that 3D perspective, those 3 developers specifically are so great with those. Why does it have to be, like you just said, doesn't have to necessarily be internal.
Right.
Why not source it out? And then maybe you could do almost a Microsoft thing, how they're doing it with Ori and the Blind Forest and Cuphead, license it out to, hey, you can play this on your Xbox or you can play it on your or your Nintendo Switch. We've always talked about more games, all that stuff is just going to be better. And these 3 are beloved. And I think you've only actually played one of them, am I right?
Metal Gear, yeah.
So, I mean, to get a chance to play other new stuff would be great for you, especially not a PlayStation gamer.
Yeah, because I loved Metal Gear Solid 5, like the gameplay of Metal Gear Solid 5. I didn't really know what was going on.
I was going to say,
story.
you're probably like, why is this guy called Ocelot?
Yeah, exactly. I skipped as many cutscenes as I could because I was like, I don't know what's going on.
It gets weirder and weirder.
But the gameplay is just so much fun in that game, so I would be all for more Metal Gear, but like you said, I'd like to see him tackle Silent Hills first because that's what he was wanting to work on. So that'll definitely.
And with
be
this resurgence of Resident Evil,
yes.
I think that is a perfect time to give. When Resident Evil and Silent Hill kept kind of going back and forth, they only made each other better. That's how we got Resident Evil 4, one of the best games ever made. So it's like, if that can be something that motivates Capcom to continue innovating on Resident Evil, I think that's only better, because what competition in horror do they really have?
Fair.
I just can't think of too much.
EA, revive Dead Space.
I would cry.
Yeah, I would cry as well.
Revive Visceral just for that, man.
Yeah. They shouldn't have closed Visceral.
I know. Like, hey, look, the Star Wars game, it's not working out.
Yeah.
You guys just want to do Dead Space 4?
Yeah.
And correct everything for Dead Space 3? Yes.
Or
yes,
just do a reboot.
I could care less. Just
Acts 2 and 3.
That series was cut way too short.
I agree. So, moving on. While we're on the topic of horror genre, Resident Evil 3 demo is coming out tomorrow. That is exciting. That came out of nowhere. I know we were anticipating a demo, but they kind of just was like, hey, there's a demo coming out Thursday. All right.
Comes out in a few weeks. Well, digitally, it'll come out in a few weeks.
There was a video today that one of my friends sent me that shows 60 frames per second 4K gameplay of the demo. Oh, cannot wait.
It's going to be a banger. You're going to learn a lot about stress in the next couple of days playing that game.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it's some part with Nemesis, because that only makes sense to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really awesome. I love these stealth releases of demos. We talked about Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
Last week, Resident Evil 3. I think it would be really cool to get something when it... I'm not sold on the Avengers game. No. So I think it would be kind of neat to have a playable demo with that.
I agree.
I don't know about Cyberpunk, but that'd be something I'd want to demo. I'd like to just see if I'm going to like it, because normally I don't like FPS RPGs. But I really want this whole resurgence of try it before you buy it, especially given the times we are in right now.
Right.
I mean, those other stories that we'll talk to, but like right now, it's great to have that, hey, I just want to try this out, see if it's something I'm interested in.
Yeah. I mean, most people are stuck at home right now, at least part of the time. Like, it's getting crazy out there. There's everywhere shut down.
Well, I was actually just talking to my friend Kate. My brother-in-law hasn't bought an MLB game since, I think, 17, because he just like updates the roster. That's all he does. But he's just like, dude, baseball's canceled for at least 2 months. Like, what am I going to do? He's a huge baseball guy. Yeah. He's like, is the show out again? And he's like, yeah, it just came out today. So he went to go buy it. Yeah. So, I mean, I was glad that he gets some semblance of baseball with that.
There's some people that I saw on Twitter were actually using MLB The Show and simulating games so that they could watch baseball. That's kind of cool. But
NASCAR, now this isn't something we put in our news of the week, but NASCAR is doing simulation races from video games and stuff like that. There has been NBA 2K, Luka Doncic, and I think another player, I can't remember from who, but they've been simulating their opponents that they were supposed to play at this time of year. Like
the Phoenix Suns with, former UK player.
Not Devin Booker, is it?
Booker, yeah. Okay.
So they're simulating games, and look, it's all in joke, but it is kind of funny. They actually did 12,000 at a time stream on that. Yeah. So people obviously are clamoring for sports or some sort of entertainment that they can watch, and look, I know the games industry has always been like, well, that's not real athleticism, and I'm not here to debate any of that stuff, but
Right.
you at least are getting that form of entertainment that you wanted. You wanted some sort of competitive atmosphere.
Yeah.
There you go. 1v1. What's more competitive than that?
Yep. Agreed. And next year is the supposed transition to MLB The Show going multi-platform.
Yeah.
So that's exciting.
Yeah,
as
no,
well.
it almost feels like with baseball, God, what a missed opportunity to wait one more year.
Yeah.
Like, if they could have been able to do it this year,
Right.
God, they would have sold gangbusters with that.
Maybe 12 months from now we'll still be in the same situation. Who knows?
I don't know.
Moving on. This story really grinds my gears, Sean. We've talked about this
I
before.
don't see Randy Pitchford on
Yeah.
it.
Well,
weird.
Randy Pitchford was on Twitter with me this week, but that's a whole nother story.
You guys are
Freaking Randy Pitchford, get the
DFS.
hell out of here. I should link him to this podcast episode. You're a douchebag, Randy Pitchford. Anyways,
I don't agree with that.
Sean doesn't agree. I do. Control's first DLC expansion is coming March 26th to PS4
There we go, man. Yeah.
and Epic Game Store.
There we go, dude.
Yeah, that's super freaking awesome. June 25th on Xbox One. What?
There we go.
This is what pissed me off because we talked about this last time. They announced the release date for PS4 and they didn't announce anything for Xbox, and I was like, that's weird. So then I went that same day. I went on the Xbox store to look at the Xbox Game Store to see if Control's Season Pass or the DLC expansion was listed on there. Neither of which were on there. I love Control. I wanted to give them my money for the expansions. Can't do it. And then today they announced that it's coming 3 months later than PlayStation 4 and Epic Game Store. That pisses me off. I hate exclusivity time deals.
Is Remedy both the developer and the publisher?
Yes.
Okay.
No, 505 Games is the publisher.
So that's more on than what
Yes.
they
No.
determined. Yeah.
Yeah, just to be clear,
Yeah,
I'm
I was
not
just saying,
pissed.
yeah,
I'm
Remedy.
not pissed at Remedy or anything like that. It's just annoying in general that you can't play everything on the same date on the same platform. That just drives me insane. We've gone through this many of times before. When I was big into Destiny and PlayStation 4 had year-long DLC exclusive on Destiny, that made me so freaking mad because you're literally paying for the same game but getting less content. And that was even more so frustrating because that was actually on the base game itself. It wasn't DLC. It was the actual game. But this is still... I don't like this stuff. I just wish we could get rid of timed exclusivity for third-party games. It's multi-platform games, you know? I'm cool with, like, the marketing deals and all of that stuff, and even, like, cosmetic DLC or whatever that's exclusive, whatever, that's fine. But don't do that. Don't do this where it's 3 months later. Because then you get in the situation, if there's like some kind of spoilers or whatever, you have people posting that online because the game's been out, or the DLC's been out for 3 months. Who knows what you're going to freaking see online with all the crap that people stir up.
Yeah, it's plausible on that. That's very plausible. I mean, I wish I could say if I hate it or not, because I know I won't be affected by this.
Right.
Obviously, since I purchased it on PS4. So I'll be able to. I actually probably won't for a while. I have a lot of things to catch up on. We already talked about this month and these next couple of weeks being busy as far as games go.
Yep.
And it's only getting more so as far as things possibly getting delayed and all that stuff. But it does stink for Xbox gamers because I know they've come to know Remedy as kind of their studio with 2 exclusives, and to not get this DLC as an exclusive for them.
Or at the same time.
Or at the same time, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. That's my stance. I'm just going to keep ranting about that in
I
my
won't let
sleep.
you know if there's a new power or anything.
All right, yeah. Oh my gosh, did you know she can fly now? Wait,
Yeah.
she could already do that.
She can go through walls now.
Yeah. Moving on, we've got a couple of Switch announcements. Blair Witch is officially coming to the Switch. I played a little bit of it on Game Pass. It's still in Game Pass right now. I don't know. I just didn't. It was very rough around the edges. I kind of fell off of it a little bit. I got to a point where I was stuck in the woods and I couldn't find my way out of there, and I was just like, I'm done with this game essentially, and moved on to the next thing. So
I think you actually went back to Friday the 13th, if I remember right.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So this is all from the Nindy Direct that we got yesterday.
Yep.
22 games were announced coming to the Switch between now and pretty much the summer.
Yep.
So we only picked out a handful of ones that really interested us. So Blair Witch obviously is something that you got to try. Weren't a huge fan of. I'm interested, but I'm also not a walking simulator person. I know that that's the type of horror game it is.
Yep.
For it. The really cool one though, I think, is Superliminal. And I think we talked about this before when it was like announced on PC and everything, because we thought it really looked like a good game for VR. But it is coming to the Switch in the summer, and it's just an odd puzzle game that I'm really interested in.
Which does this support? Doesn't Nintendo have that cardboard VR thing? I don't know. I forget what it's called.
I don't know if it does. I know Zelda does and it makes you sick, and I know Mario does and it makes you sick.
Oh.
I know it's all bad
Okay.
as far as the VR thing. Like, it's neat that you can do it, but it's not what you think like Oculus or PSVR.
Gotcha.
Like, you're basically having to hold it with one hand.
Gotcha.
To keep it up. Like, I saw actually it at Best Buy when I was there on Tuesday. And then I'm like, it was only like $40. I'm like, maybe, but I was like, I also don't want to throw up, so I think I'm good.
Yeah.
But anyways, I thought this was really cool that's coming out. You and I both wanted to try this, just because it looked like a
cool puzzle game.
Yeah, like things are out of perspective. You put them in perspective, they become giant or smaller, depending on how you view it. It's just an interesting take on a puzzle game for you.
I agree completely. Back to the whole Corona deal. Final Fantasy VII Remake physical copies apparently may be hard to get, according to Square Enix. So this is kind of expected at this point, I think, with all the shutdowns and all the concerns around the coronavirus.
Amazon just announcing today they're not going to be buying from wholesalers to stock. They're going to be basically just looking for essentials.
Yep.
I mean, this might be a new norm for a while.
Yep.
So the reason why we kind of want to put this on here is you're still going to be able to get these games digitally. I want to be clear on that, because both of them have a system as far as Xbox and Sony. Microsoft and Sony have a system where you can purchase any of your games digitally, or hell, even Game Pass or PS Now, that type of thing. So you're going to play your games. You just might, if you're somebody that's a physical collector or only orders physical copies, such as myself, you might be crap out of luck as far as release date, or maybe not at all.
Yeah.
So, luckily, there was rumors of emails getting sent to customers that pre-ordered from Square Enix site about delays in getting their copy. Square Enix said that those were not actual legitimate. I pre-ordered mine through Amazon, so I'm a little nervous about that.
Yeah.
I haven't received an email. I checked it today just to be on the safe side. But it really makes me think for games going forward, maybe for a little bit, if it's something I want, I'm going to have to really look at going digital, just like you have been doing for a while now.
Absolutely. I will say Amazon sometimes doesn't voice their problems with shipping at times with stuff like this. Like Titanfall 2, I got the collector's edition, and it was supposed to come on launch day. Well, apparently there's some kind of issue with them receiving the collector's editions, so it got delayed like 2 to 3 weeks, and they didn't tell me that until the day it came out. And I was pissed because like I went on my account to see where it was at, and it said delay in shipment. So then I called them, and they explained that, and I was like, oh, man.
Did they give you any credit or anything like that?
I don't remember. It was a while ago, whenever Titanfall 2 came out. But, they aren't the greatest with that. Hopefully your copy comes through okay.
Yeah, I didn't order. I only pre-ordered the main one,
regular,
just because you get like some extra materia to start off the game with. Same thing with Neo 2. I just pre-ordered it because I got some armor to start the game off with, just make it a little easier, but still the same price.
Yep.
So I'm not gonna really be out of luck if I have to purchase the digital version.
Right.
It's something, those kind of games to me that I think are like important games that I really want to own. I love having that physical copy to have on my shelf.
Yeah, fair enough. Moving on, we've got Lego Super Mario that was announced last week. We just kind of wanted to talk about this. I did pull up the video after our podcast last week,
right?
and we were talking about. It's really weird, because I guess I'm confused as to who this is for, because you're basically controlling a Super Mario world with your own hands.
Definitely not adults.
No.
I will 100% I
Yeah.
know Legos, there's that show on Fox right now, Lego Masters,
Yeah.
and it's adults building this. This is definitely not for adults. This is for
Right.
kids. I just think it's going to be very experimental, and I'm curious if it's a success on how they created almost a live action video game, kind of like nothing that's on your TV screen. Like you basically build the boards up like you would like a Super Mario World.
Yeah.
And then I guess there's some sort of NFC chip or something like in it, in the Mario and in the characters to like actually have the actions approved, and you see it on like Mario's belly,
His face.
and on his face, and then like you hear sounds and stuff like that. So we've been wondering what this crossover was. A lot of people were hoping it was an actual Lego Mario.
Right.
Downfall is in Lego games you jump, and Miyamoto won't let you jump in a Mario game that's not his.
True.
So
Wait, what?
you didn't know that?
No.
So remember Mario and the Rabbids game?
Yeah.
That was the only stipulation Miyamoto had, that Mario couldn't jump.
Wait, what?
'Cause that makes a Mario
Smash. Does Smash have Mario? Smash has Mario.
Yeah,
jumping.
but that's not considered a mainline
gotcha.
game or anything like that. Like Mario vs. Rabbids is a mainline Mario game,
Gotcha.
which is what it does.
Huh. Interesting.
So yeah, I always just thought that was funny, but I don't know. It looks interesting. I love actually Legos. I'm actually watching that Legos Master set or Lego Master show. I think it's entertaining. I don't ever see why I would get it unless I had kids, because it just doesn't. It looks too simplistic as far as the builds, and that's what I like about Legos.
True.
And it just doesn't look like something that I would put together and then set it to a side.
Yeah.
That's all I would do, and it's they're probably $40 a piece, especially with having electronics in them.
True.
But I don't know. It's kind of cool that they did this partnership. Nintendo is known to protect their freaking licenses.
Yeah.
Hardcore.
Absolutely.
And just recently is only when they've been letting it. Obviously, with Ubisoft, with Mario and Rabbids, and Zelda being allowed to be licensed with the Rise of the Necromancer.
And it seems to have worked out mostly in their favor when they've done it. So.
Oh, I mean, if there's a sequel that everybody wants on the Switch that hasn't been announced, i.e. Breath of the Wild, it's Mario vs. Rabbids.
Yeah.
That was a fun game. And it was a very long game, which I was surprised about, but that was a lot of fun to play.
Yep. And I think they have a very close relationship with Ubisoft. I wouldn't be surprised to see another Mario plus Rabbids
I
game.
really hope that. I hope you're right on that.
Moving on, there is a new rumor of Tales from the Borderlands getting both a, I guess, re-release, remaster, whatever, and a sequel announced. So the only thing I'm a little confused on about this is this game came out in 2014. It was a cross-gen game for Xbox 360, Xbox One, PS3, PS4. I don't really understand why it would need a re-release, essentially, like a refresh to the graphics and stuff, because it just came out in 2014. But I would love a freaking sequel. The Tales from the Borderlands, honestly, might be my highest ranked Borderlands game, just because the story in that game was really good, the characters were really good, and that isn't something that's necessarily true of the mainline games. The characters are good in the mainline games, but the story is always a little bit
Couldn't
of a
tell you
mess.
what happens in the story.
It's just kind of a
I know
conglomeration.
there's beasts.
Yeah,
Vault beasts.
Vault beasts and vault keys and all kinds of stuff. But the Tales from the Borderlands game was such an underrated game at the time, and Telltale, I don't know if this would include the new Telltale making this, or if this would be
I hope not,
something...
because wouldn't that kind of make you think that they're heading down the same path as old Telltale?
Yeah.
Wolf Among Us Season 2, or sorry, just Wolf Among Us 2.
Yeah.
Then this, we're going back to announcing so many projects.
Yeah.
And I get it's only 2, but that's...
Yeah.
You got to release something before you start announcing all these partnerships and projects.
Yeah, and they can't be that high staff yet,
Yeah.
considering they were just building it back up.
Yep.
So, yeah, I agree, but I would definitely be all for a sequel to Tales from the Borderlands. So, Moving on to the games we are playing, I'm playing Ori and the Will of the Wisps still.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, I've never heard of it either. I'm actually only about 3.5 hours in, something like that.
Insane
Yeah.
that he's not been playing it 24/7.
I know. It's been a little crazy. The whole Corona, there's been a lot going on. And this week's not getting any better because tomorrow's Resident Evil, Friday's Doom. I'm just completely screwed at this point.
That's why you prioritize. You do the first, and the next, and the next.
True.
Resident Evil will only take you probably a half hour anyways. It's probably going to be a timed demo.
True. Yeah, it'll probably be very similar to the Resident Evil 2 demo, but I'm very excited for that. Anyways, Ori, I absolutely love. It's absolutely stunning. I've been playing on my Xbox One X. One thing I have noticed when I play on my Xbox One S, which I have in my bedroom, I played a couple of times. It has a lot of frame rate issues, and actually, I don't know if this is related to me being in the preview program because that console is actually a more unstable version of the OS because I'm in like early access programs for their new dashboards and stuff. And that one's like this as early as you possibly could get. This one I have more stable because I play it more often. But that one, when I started Ori and the Will of the Wisps for the first time in there, it completely shut my system down. Like it just crashed my system.
It's not. I'll give you a heads up.
It's not.
I crashed probably about 9 times.
Like your system shut off?
Yep. About 9 times.
Wow.
That was if I have a complaint, it is that the Xbox One is not equipped at this point to handle games today.
The OG, yeah.
That was my biggest disappointment. I had a lot of frame rate issues myself. Yeah. I had issues where whenever I loaded into a new area, it would lock up for about 10 seconds. Mm-hmm. And if you're in the middle of doing some platforming into that new area, it totally screws up the flow. Yeah. Then you got to go back to that other area, another 10 seconds, then try to figure out, okay, how can I make it so it doesn't load as bad? So that was incredibly disappointing. Yeah. Especially with how good Ori, the first one, ran on the Switch.
Yeah.
It
ran well on Xbox One as well. I know some reports were saying that it ran better on Switch, but the first one ran really well on the original Xbox One as well. So it's not like it just all of a sudden, went to shit. They must have changed something.
There is a lot more going on this time around. It's not as barren in the background. I mean, we've talked about the enemies last week on how they're harder. And oh, buddy, do they get harder. Some boss battles took me quite a few times. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
But I totally agree with your sentiments as far as how that game is.
But the gameplay in general, every level of it feels like it was improved. Like every ability feels better. The other thing that kind of irritated me was the whole Batman thing where you take away all of your utilities and you have to get them all back. That is kind of annoying, but I get it for that type of game. It's Metroidvania.
Yeah, that's how those go. The only thing I was really upset about was the breathing underwater.
Yes.
Because that was a huge ability to unlock in the first one, and then not having that, I was just like, oh my god, are you kidding me? I have to go back to this crap where I have to find air pockets and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I actually did beat it, though. I loved it. I stand by my words that right now it would be my game of the year.
Yeah.
So awesome. Probably took me about... My Xbox says 120 hours, but I know that's not true.
Oh, 120 hours, that'd be a lot.
Yeah, I think it's because I just didn't turn it off correctly occasionally.
Yeah.
But probably took me about 12 hours. I haven't 100%ed everything yet, but I will. But the traversal just feel like there's so much more to your traversal this time around. Like you can go almost like an entire screen without ever touching the floor if you traverse correctly. With certain power-ups that you'll find.
Yeah.
The only downfall that I really felt with the gameplay is there's different abilities that you're able to purchase. I didn't really find myself wanting to experiment with them as much. I did after I beat the game, but I never really got that inkling to do so because the game was, how I was playing was working out fine for me. So I kind of wish I almost was forced to kind of experiment, but I never felt that force, if that makes sense.
That does make sense.
But just, amazing. When you get to that ending or even the middle, I'm just, holy crap. I think their temples...
No spoilers.
Their temples kind of serve as dungeons, Zelda dungeons. I think all but one are better than any that were in the first game. The only one I strongly maybe I shouldn't say strongly dislike. I just disliked was the very last dungeon.
Really?
That one was incredibly unforgiving and frustrating.
Oh no! 2 words I hate in games. No.
I think my death counter was like, it was actually less than my original Ori in the Blind Forest. I think I only died 140 something times.
Wow. I think I've died 40 times and I'm only 3.5 hours in.
Yeah, some of them, the boss is actually where I died the most.
Yeah.
Because there's a hefty amount of bosses, but I actually really love how they experimented too. I don't know if you've gotten into this yet, but there's almost a fetch quest with trading with different NPCs throughout the game. Where you have to give them certain things, and you have to find somebody else that needs that certain thing that they give you.
Yes.
It is a very long quest.
I have made it to the part where you have to give what's-his-name materials to build out certain things like the swing and...
So that's something different. But that is cool how you can upgrade the wellspring.
Yes.
And I think he calls it the Haven or the Glade, something like that.
Yep.
But there's another quest where you actually have to, like... You get something initially, then you trade it to an NPC. They give you something else in return. Then you have to find the NPC that needs that.
Yeah.
It is a very long and arduous process to figure out all these characters. So I just kept always checking around on my map. I think the map's a lot better thought out this time around.
Yep.
But I was very happy to do that and finish it. Now, the downfall is the reward is not worth it, but that's something that you'll find out later if you do that request.
The reward is not worth it?
Yes, you get a reward at the end of the... it doesn't matter for you, but for me, it was just, like, very disappointing because it was something I was pretty much already done with.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So the other game, and I know it's not a game in your wheelhouse.
Oh, I love this series.
Neo 2. So let me preface this with saying I'm about 3 hours in. Mm-hmm. I've yet to beat the first mission.
What?
It is.
How many
hard.
missions are there?
I don't know. Probably last one had like 22 or something like that.
What the?
And obviously you can go back and replay them in yokai mode. It is hard as hell.
Really?
It's a lot harder than I anticipated.
Really?
I'm still really liking it. I love being back in that world. The character creator is the most in-depth character creator I've ever done in my entire life. Just the look of everything, what you can actually change. That like it's more than Dark Souls, more than Fallout. Like it is just crazy. Like the amount of detail that can go into your character. So I really enjoyed that for people that love to make their own custom. But it is a challenge. It is a lot more strategy than last time, I think. Especially because having a new form of you being able to transform into a yokai, which is like a demon. In Japanese. Mm-hmm. So that's what you're fighting, half and half humans too. Humans I'm pretty good at taking down because they don't take too much. It's the yokai that you're like, you really got to figure out your strategies. And I'm on the boss that normally all the bosses are yokais except for like 2 of them in the first one. This one is just killing me.
Really?
I can't get far enough away, and if I get far enough away, he starts shooting a projectile that I can't dodge yet.
Oh.
And so, like, literally, I just keep going back and forth in the world, just trying to upgrade to get my health and my stats up so much. Like, I haven't even left the first mission, like I said.
Yeah.
All my stats, except for, like, 3 of them, start at 5. The other one start at 6. Mm-hmm. I'm already at 11 with every stat to try to max out to be better off.
So the guy that's throwing like projectiles, is he a boss? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
He's a boss. You technically are able to fight a lesser form of him as the second enemy of the game, which I tried to, died like 5 times. I'm like, I don't think I can do this. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I go around, and then at the end, a giant form of him is the boss.
Oh, wow.
And he is so aggressive. It is just insane. But I love these games as a challenge. I am not deterred at all from dying this much.
Yeah. So compare Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order's second to last boss to this boss.
I didn't have as much problems as you did.
You came out and you couldn't beat him.
I couldn't. It was on an Xbox controller.
Oh, that's an excuse.
I only played him twice too, for the record.
That's true. And then I was like, let me handle this.
Yeah, I had to touch your controller to give you that power.
No, I think I had to break my your wall in order to get that power. Anyways.
I can't really say though for certain if I like this more than Neo, the first one. But I am enjoying it a lot at this point, especially the customizations. And really building out my characters. The new weapon's actually really cool. You almost have a trick weapon, which was something from Bloodborne, where your weapon can transform. So I actually have a scythe that can transform into like 3 different things. It's really cool.
Damn.
So this will probably be a game I'm playing for a little bit.
So that definitely from everything you just said, it sounds like a game I will never touch because of how difficult it is.
Yeah, you never will.
Yeah.
You never will.
So, moving on to our topic of the show. Our topic of the show this week, we got basically a dump of information from Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 specifications for the consoles. So we got some features that are going to be in these new consoles, as well as like the technical details. So I'm just going to try to break down these details as best as I can. I'm not a super technical expert.
I am not at all.
I know a little bit. I know some of this stuff.
Make it as less boring as possible.
Yeah,
that's all I have to say.
Exactly. So just to break it down here, I'll just break it down by each piece of the console, and then we can talk about the features that they announced for each console and how that relates to next gen. So starting with the processor. So the processor is basically like the brain of the console. It's what, controls every aspect of the console. It controls your AI, your movement, all of that kind of stuff. The processors, the PlayStation 5 has a AMD Zen 2 3.5 gigahertz processor. So a decent it's a really good processor. Xbox Series X has the same model, AMD Zen 2, but it's 3.8 gigahertz processor, so it's 0.3 gigahertz more. Is that something you're going to notice in multi-platform games or even exclusive games? No. It's not going to be much different at all. That's essentially the same. Nowhere near... Just to break this down ahead of time, this isn't going to be an Xbox One versus PS4 situation, Xbox One versus PS4 situation where the Xbox One was definitely noticeably less powerful than the PlayStation 4. The Xbox One original suffered greatly at launch with even resolution at 1080p, 30 frames per second. So this isn't going to be that situation. This is just going to be a little bit different approaches. And that's kind of the whole thing with these specs. They have 2 completely different approaches with how they're doing these consoles, but I think at the end of the day, they're going to come back to be very similar consoles.
100%. They pretty much have just a parallel line between the two.
As long as the developers don't have any problems making games for both, which I'll talk about here in a little bit when we talk about the storage. As long as they don't have problems making games for both, like PS3 and Xbox 360. I was going to say,
it's not like a cell processor type
exactly.
deal.
As long as that doesn't happen, I think we'll be fine. But, that's kind of up in the air. We don't know that until we see the games. The GPU, so this is the graphics processor. This is basically the heart of the console. It's what makes your visuals look so good. It's your resolution and all of that kind of stuff. So the PlayStation 5 has AMD RDNA 2. It's just a form of graphics card, but it's got a purported amount of power of being 10.28 teraflops. There's a lot of things mentioned about teraflops today. Teraflops is essentially just a general idea of how powerful a console can be. It doesn't take into account developers actually, utilizing the consoles. It's just theoretical maximum power of the console. So it just gives you an arbitrary idea of how powerful these are. So 10.28 teraflops compared to Xbox Series X 12 teraflops. Is that a big difference? Not really. At the end of the day, 1.8 teraflop difference. I don't think that's going to be anything we'll see in the screen. At most, you may see some games run in a little bit less than 4K resolution, up-res to 4K. If they're running 4K 60 frames per second, maybe something like that. But again, it comes back to the developers, how they're utilizing the actual power that they have. Every developer utilizes it differently. So you aren't going to know that till we actually see games, as we talked about. Both consoles have 16 gigabytes of GDDR6 RAM, which is actually faster than the standard RAM that's available right now. So that's very good news. I think both consoles have 12 gigabytes that are dedicated to games.
That
only.
is true. Yeah, that is true. I remember reading that.
So that's awesome as well. Xbox One X, for instance, has 12 total. The OS takes up like 4 gigs, so that's a huge step up.
Well, that was something I actually appreciated from Sony's press conference today, was that they talked about 825 gigabytes of storage, or memory, sorry. I think that's what it was. And everyone's like, why isn't it a terabyte? And it's like, well, they were actually just honest and said, like, instead of, because every time they always say you have a terabyte.
Yeah.
Well, no, you have like 150 at least that goes to all the OS stuff. True. So you never actually get 1 terabyte. So I actually kind of appreciated that honesty.
True. And that's what's kind of funny, because they do put 825 gigabytes here, which I don't know what that looks like. 825. Did they say in there? I didn't watch it. Did they say that's after the OS?
Yep.
Okay. So
that's why I was reading all these comments online. And everyone's like giving them crap for them. Like, all they were was just honest for you.
Right.
Whenever, like, I remember when I upgraded my PS4 to the terabyte hard drive. Yeah. It already said I had 160 gone. I'm like, I didn't install anything.
Reserved,
oh wait, it's all the OS. Okay, then what do I care?
And people are just dumb. But supposedly Xbox Series X has 1 terabyte, but what you said, I don't think it's going to have 1 terabyte. It'll have a certain amount that's reserved for the OS. That's just the size of the hard drive itself, or the solid state drive itself, is 1 terabyte. So both have 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray players. We expected that. Xbox One X has that already. Xbox One S has it. I was a little surprised when PS4 Pro didn't have it. I kind of expected it to.
Especially when you own the proprietary drive. Didn't make any sense.
Right. Both have 8K support, which I don't think that's going to be anything we'll see this generation anyways. If we do, it'll be very limited.
Yep, it'll be at the end, just like 4K is now at the end of this whole generation.
Right. And it's not going to be 8K 60 frames per second. You might get a game like 8K 30 frames per second or something, and like a little indie game. You're not going to get like Uncharted 5 at 8K 60 frames per second.
I agree.
That's impossible on this hardware. Both have HDR support, obviously. That's a given. That kind of rounds out the technical specifications for both that have been confirmed. Microsoft did announce a few things about the ports for the Xbox One X, Series X. I did say Xbox One X.
That's weird how that's
Xbox
confusing,
Series
right?
X. No, I just said the wrong thing.
No, that's okay.
It has 3 USB 3 ports, so there's no USB-C port like people thought initially, which USB-C isn't really standard yet.
No, not right now.
For peripherals and such. HDMI out, no in anymore, so they're dropping the whole TV thing. It has a proprietary memory slot on the back. That was the long slot that people saw, which we can actually talk about that right now. Essentially, they're partnering with Seagate to give people the ability to buy a 1 terabyte external SSD that you plug into the slot so you can expand your storage to 2 terabytes. And that's going to be important because this generation, there's no way to play Xbox Series X games or PlayStation 5 games on an external hard drive, a regular external hard drive.
Currently, yes.
You cannot play either of those titles on that because the hard drive speed's too slow. That's what the SSD is doing for next generation games. It's making it so much quicker. That's why they're requiring that. However, Microsoft has said that if you have an external hard drive connected to your Xbox One currently, and you have Xbox One and 360 and original Xbox games on there, you can plug that into one of your USB ports and still play those games on your external hard drive. So you don't have to use the SSD for like legacy games, but you do have to use the internal hard drive or the memory card expansion for Series X games. Sony hasn't said anything about that yet, but I would assume it'll be very similar in that regard. Let's see, what else? Backwards compatible games for both systems, actually, Xbox and PlayStation 5, will run better and quicker with SSD. So Microsoft did show Gears 5 technical demo running on Series X, and it looked really good. Solid frame rate and 4K, full 4K. And it actually they turned on more features than what the PC version of the game has currently right now. Like, they had features turned off that were too demanding, I guess. And these features were turned on for Series X. So that's very exciting to see stuff like that. As well as PlayStation 5, they announced the whole their top 100 games played,
yes,
for PS4 would support their new program, their Boost whatever, for the SSD. So if you own one of those games, they'll load quicker and just have no loading times and stuff like that, or less loading times. Like Spider-Man, they showed off that demo with Spider-Man where it was like instantaneous. It'll be like that for those 100 games.
Yep.
They are supporting all of their backwards compatibility at launch for PS4. It's just those 100.
So yet again, our prediction, even though I don't know if it was a prediction, this will be the biggest console launch in terms of what you're able to play in history.
Absolutely. When you compare both or combine both of them, absolutely.
Like, say for some reason every next gen game gets delayed.
Yeah.
But the consoles don't for some reason. They can still launch and you can still play.
Yeah.
Essentially, you're up-resed, faster games. Yeah. In a sense, on your new systems.
And it was very similar to that when the Xbox 360 launched. 90% of the people playing on Xbox 360 were still playing Halo 2, which was an original Xbox game. So you definitely will still play your old games, at least at launch. Except for me, I will never get out of Halo Infinite and never leave the house.
I don't think you're getting that game.
Crazy fool.
I think that's getting delayed too.
Microsoft did announce a really cool feature, which I love. The quick resume feature that is on PS4 and Xbox One currently, where if you're playing a game and you turn your console off in low power mode, so it has to be in low power mode, then you can turn your console back on and it'll start you back in that same game exactly where you were. Like, it doesn't lose your progress. You're literally staring at the same thing you left when you left your screen before. The new Xbox Series X will actually improve that with the SSD. It actually stores that no matter what. So if you hard power off your console, unplug the power and everything, plug it back in, turn it on, it'll still go back to that exact same point again because it's all stored on the SSD, which doesn't require power. It's all on the SSD itself. And so that's super cool. I assume Sony will have the same thing. They didn't talk about that, but I'm assuming that will be the same because that's an SSD thing that you can do. But they did say you can switch between 4 games instantly, which is crazy.
I just don't know why you need to.
You don't need to.
Yeah.
It's just crazy to think about. Like, you're going from Ori to, like, I don't know, Call of Duty to Fortnite.
No, just Ori. Just Ori.
Wow.
I'll go to the first one.
Yeah. It's just crazy, like, seeing the switching, because they showed the switching, and it's just insane. Like, this, like, because a lot of people play multiple games at one time. Like, this week we have Doom. I'll probably be playing Doom and Ori quite a bit. So switching back and forth would have been awesome. Obviously, Xbox One doesn't support that, but I like that feature a lot. Let's see, what else? The PlayStation 5 also can load 5 gigabytes in 1 second with their speed. That was one of the things that Sony's proprietary SSD apparently moves things a lot quicker than even the Series X does. So the SSD can move data 5 gigabytes a second, whereas I think the Series X is like 3 gigabytes per second. Still a lot of fucking data.
I was going to say, no matter what, it's not like it's...
Yes.
The biggest thing that I had taken away from at least Sony today was the loading. And this has been a problem, honestly, in this whole generation, but Sony, I think, has a worse problem with it, is when you buy a game, is getting it installed into your system.
Oh, yeah.
And Sony has been pretty much this whole generation been really bad at it, at least from my standpoint.
Yeah.
So that's good to see that this is actually going to be something that's pretty much fixed.
Speed, yeah.
Now, obviously, with games being a lot larger, we might just see it kind of going back to it at some point. But
And that is one really cool aspect that they said that install times will be a lot quicker for games. The only problem is you're limited either by the disk speed because it has to write from the disk, or you're limited by your internet connection. So that's the two bottlenecks. Which
we'll see when they announce it. Like when they both do like a showcase, like if they show something with like maybe poor internet speed, just to see what that can still look like for you.
True.
So I don't know. It's nice that we finally got Sony to say something.
Yeah, exactly.
It took them a while.
Took them
a long while.
Especially considering Microsoft announced in December at the Game Awards. Like, that was early December.
Yeah, but again, none of this, in my mind, matters. It's cool to see, especially if you're a tech junkie.
Yeah.
You have a lot more stuff to know about what you're getting into with these two platforms.
Yeah.
But I just want to see what they're selling me as far as to buy this system at launch.
I agree.
Both of them. As far as, like, how are you improving the operating system? Okay, what games are you offering? Cool. What services are you offering? Like, it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to market this all to us.
I don't care about the operating system. Just give me a freaking Halo Infinite gameplay demo.
Well, yeah, it's coming on to PS5 now, actually. It just got announced.
It's not.
Yeah,
Shut up.
Just exclusive.
Exclusive. Get out of here. Honestly, I would love to see them do that sooner than later. I hope they don't wait until E3 week, but they're probably going to.
I don't know. The only thing I'll say is they necessarily don't have to at this point.
No,
because
they don't.
If they wanted to, they can be the topic of conversation. We have no sports. No sports at all. I mean, we don't even have movies now.
True.
I mean, video games can't really get delayed as far as if they're a finished product, because you can just release them digitally.
True.
And as MPS has shown, a lot of gamers are buying more and more digital. So that's something that they can kind of control the conversation and control, honestly, the entertainment industry, even though they already do. I mean, video games make more money than movies, music, all that combined.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I just think this is a perfect time for video games to shine. People are inside.
Yep.
As long as we still have electricity.
Perfect time to shine. All right, guys. Thank you guys for coming out to our live show. Just, again, we're live each week. Follow us on Twitter.
Unless we all get banned.
Yeah, that's true.
Unless we all get told, hey, you're sitting inside, and that's all you can do.
You can't cross the borders. Follow us at Podcast PXN, Podcast PXN on YouTube as well. Thank you again for coming out, and much love, and keep on gaming.
Deuces.